I miss coziness. The sad Morgan. Alright, pull yourself together. We have this final level in our mini-series of Can You Spam It? Yes, you can. We're going with our Dianyang and then our fish towers, man. Deep Devil's Reef. Is it just me, or is Deep Devil's Reef kind of like a tongue twister for some reason? I don't know why. It's hard to say. It shouldn't be 3 words long. But then again, if you've played Kingdom Rush Revengeance, and you better as crap have done so by now, then you know that this tower got renamed Scourge of the Abyss, which sounds awesome. And it's like a minimum of twice as expensive per every tower that you build, because everything got buffed and balanced. And that's why when I did my first Kingdom Rush Revengeance playthrough, I wanted to do a challenge video after it. And the challenge video was, well, if I'm going to be doing this on Impossible, I want to pick a tower that... I didn't even really use Scourge of the Abyss, the fish tower. I barely even used it when I was playing in Kingdom Rush Revengeance, because, believe it or not, Rocket Riders are like, you know, a pretty awesome meta tower. Shadow Archers are really, really good. Everything's really good, you know? But Rocket Riders and Kingdom Rush Revengeance are just especially good. And their range is big, and their damage and their costs are finally good enough where it feels like you're building like a big Bertha. It's really satisfying. So anyways, when I did my Kingdom Rush Revengeance Solar Tower Challenge, I did it with Scourge of the Abyss, or Deep Devil's Reef Tower, and it was awesome. And that's kind of what this was a throwback to. I was like, well, this is a new campaign. This feels like Kingdom Rush Revengeance, because the guy that built these, I think he commented on one of these last videos, and, well, I mean, he could be trolling us, but, like, it sounded genuine. He commented, I don't know which video it is, if it's me fighting the dinosaur boss, or, me just doing, like, my first look at, this mini campaign or something, but he did a really good job, so thank you, sir. Whatever your name is, if you're listening to this somehow, which is probably very unlikely, like 10,000 to 1, then good job, because this mini campaign is awesome. Dianyang still pairs very well with our fish tower. This fish tower, man, it works out really good. You are really getting 2 for 1 in a lot of ways. There's only 2 fish, but they have good HP. They do have relatively low damage, but when you finalize everything and maximize out their stats, including upgrading the stats of the red spines when they're a tier 4 tower, they're pretty nice. They throw javelins, which is really nice for these flying enemies, because there's a good amount of pterodactyls. And then the tower itself has good, consistent magic damage. It doesn't attack too slow, so it's like a relatively medium attack speed. And it has a good amount of damage. I think it's like 60 to 130 off the top of my head, which is, I could be wrong, but yeah, it's a nice tower, you know. You don't always want the barracks there though, because if you're trying to play some like lower level, like, you know, 1 or 2 tier Deep Devil's Reef, and then the Velociraptors come, they're going to turn your fish into eggs, man. They're going to go savage all over that. So you got to be careful. Generally, though, I mean, up until you have a maxed out tower, I would say that Deep Devil's Reef is better than Spectre's Mausoleum. Absolutely. In pretty much every situation I could think of. Like, both maxed out towers compared to each other, yeah, Spectres are going to win because of possession, basically. That's like the #1 determining factor. But the Gargoyles are good, too, because they have good stats. Like, they do higher damage. I think 24 to 36 or something like that. It's pretty high. And they have some armor and in pretty good health. They can't hit flying enemies, so it's kind of a trade-off. But, yeah, overall, this is a really good tower. Is it meta? That's a really good question. After this experiment and, you know, how easy these towers have made this challenge, playing through Primal Ravage, it's actually really impressive, because when I was using other towers and trying to combine towers that are not very meta and stuff, and yeah, given that a lot of those towers kind of suck, honestly, this tower just seems really good, and maybe it should be more expensive to offer more balance. Maybe it's a little too good compared to, you know, combining Orc Warrior Den with Shadow Archers and stuff like that. Because, I mean, this tower kind of combines an Orc Warrior Den and an Infernal Mage together. But then, the guys aren't just as weak and lacking in versatility as the Orc Warrior Den, because they can throw javelins and you can upgrade their stats and stuff. And then if you have a good support hero, it just makes them even better. So it's almost like you're mixing together Shadow Archers, because they have that javelin ability to throw it at people and stuff, so which is nice physical damage in addition to the magic damage, obviously. That's why this is one of the coolest, not necessarily most broken. Maybe it is, I don't know. I'd really need to do some tests and talk to some smarter people for myself. But Deep Devil's Reef is actually pretty darn good. Like, this tower, you know, it's not like, I don't think it's broken. Maybe it should be slightly more expensive when you compare it to, like, you know, if this pretty much does the same thing as Infernal Mage plus Orc Warrior Den, then, and it pretty much does. I mean, I actually like the damage from this thing better because it's more consistent. You know, Infernal Mage and Orc Shaman, which is like the worst magic tower ever invented, basically. Their ranges just vary so much. It's so incredibly frustrating. Yeah, they're still averages over the course of time. So when you have these towers, if you know what I'm referring to, their base damage is like 30 or 40, maxed out, completely maxed out. It's like this really low amount. It's like, oh, we can either do 1 damage every time we strike every like 3 seconds, which is terrible, or we can do like 200. It's like, okay, well, that's an average of 100. It's like, okay, well, just give me a better average of like 80 to 120 then. Or, you know, Shaman was really fixed in every way that you can imagine in Kingdom Rush Revengeance, because every single strike, I believe, does area damage, and the damage is finally consistent and high enough where it's worth getting. I remember Vuduk using it a lot and showcasing Orc Shaman and whatever else on Magnesia Shores. Yes, the very first frog level of the post game. And it's awesome. You can plant one in the back, and I mean, it's healing still. I don't know if that's particularly worth it. Maybe it is. I haven't looked into that a lot in Kingdom Rush Revengeance, but its other abilities are good too. But it's just the fact that, like, Orc Shaman finally got a big balance. You know, it's finally more like a magic version of Tesla, which is good for the vast majority of enemies in this game, because most of them don't have magic resistance. Okay, I'm sticking with that. Yeah, there's a few skeletons and stuff here and there on the haunted section of the post game, but I'm not that worried about that. And guess what, guys? I have failed this experiment. That's right. Look at that. Look in the top left. I only have 15 hearts. So is this tower really that easily spammable? Well, we still have a boss. Should be able to take down the boss just fine. You know what really happened here? I just got careless. Rushed every single wave, basically. And then when I got to wave 14 and 15, I was not paying attention to the left side of the map. That's all that really happened. And I'll prove it to you. After I murder this boss with some fish that can breathe above ground. So as we're killing this boss, I did a little zoom in for you. These guys they're really good at it. This is actually, it's going down way easier here than it did in my second attempt. I did do a second attempt. Now here you can see more of the stats and everything differently. That's why I moved the screen down. Yang Yang is, you know, shooting his pathetic lightning bolts at him. That's pretty much all I can do. Besides heal our guys a little bit. But his hero spell is doing a lot of work. Let's be real. I like this Dino boss. I wish he had twice or thrice the HP, honestly. That would be pretty cool. But yeah, he's actually a pretty cool boss. He's got some interesting mechanics. But here's footage of me after this that funny glitch that happens every time you beat this level. So I did it again. Easy 3 stars. Anyways, guys, that wraps up this mini campaign. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe or something, you Deep Devil's Reef lovers.